Jerusalem continues to face the heat of the clashes as tensions intensify. Israel carried out airstrikes in Palestinian-controlled territory after militants in Gaza fired a barrage of rockets at Jerusalem for the first time since 2014. Israel's military said on Monday that it had begun striking targets in Hamas-ruled Gaza in response to nearly 150 rockets fired from the other side. Israeli army has claimed that they have hit at least 130 targets in Gaza, killing at least 15 Hamas operatives. Palestinian health officials said a total of 20 people, including 9 children, have been killed in the fighting. The death toll made it one of the bloodiest days of fighting in several years. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, meanwhile, has accused the Hamas militant group of crossing a red line with its rocket attack on Jerusalem and promised tough response.
We will not tolerate harm to our territory, to our capital, to our citizens, or to our soldiers. He who attacks us will pay a heavy price. I tell you, citizens of Israel, the current confrontation may last for a while. We didn't want escalation, but he who chose to escalate will feel our arms strike.
U.S. Department of State spokesperson Ned Price on Monday renewed his calls for calm in the region. Price called the rocket attacks unacceptable escalation.
The United States condemns in the strongest terms the barrage of rocket attacks fired into Israel in recent hours. This is an unacceptable escalation. While we urge de-escalation on all sides, we also recognize Israel's legitimate right to defend itself, to defend its people and its territory. It is critical for all sides to ensure calm and de-escalate tensions and avoid violent confrontations.
The past few days have seen the worst violence in Jerusalem for years. Fresh violence erupted at the Al-Aqsa compound on Monday, triggering more unrest to an already volatile region. Over 300 people have been injured. Israeli police fired flash grenades, tear gas at protesters near the Al-Aqsa mosque compound to defuse the crowd. Israeli police said they used riot control methods after hundreds of Palestinians began throwing stones at them. Jerusalem has become a focal point of Palestinian anger over what they see as years of efforts to push them out of Jerusalem and limit their access to the region. The situation has been aggravated by right-wing Jewish Israeli efforts to assert control in East Jerusalem, which Israel claims as part of its undivided capital. Palestinians and Israeli police have clashed in recent days amid tensions over a looming court decision on whether to evict Palestinians from their homes in East Jerusalem. Israel's Supreme Court delayed a hearing on the evictions scheduled for Monday due to raging tensions in the region. Journalist Elon Levi is joining us live from Tel Aviv for more on the story. Levi, good to see you. Probably I'll start by asking you, Netanyahu accused Hamas of crossing a red line with rocket attacks. Israel has carried out retaliatory airstrikes in Gaza. What is the latest updates on the number of casualties, Levi?
At the moment, we're just seeing a huge barrage of rockets being fired right now in the last few seconds from the Gaza Strip towards Ashkelon and the areas immediately around the Gaza envelope area, as it's called. I'm not sure the immediate latest casualty figures. We are seeing reports from the Hamas-controlled health ministry in Gaza of casualties inside the Gaza Strip. That's something that, of course, has to be independently verified because we are talking, of course, about a source run by a terrorist organization. But as you say, yesterday, for the first time since the war in 2014, residents of Jerusalem heard rocket sirens in the capital city as Hamas fired rockets at Jerusalem the first time since 2014, definitely as far as Israel is concerned, the crossing of a red line with the targeting of its civilians in the capital city.
Visuals showed Israeli army preparing aircraft to launch strikes on Gaza. Will we see a further escalation of the violence, Levi?
possible that there will be. I mean, it's a cliche to say that nobody wants an escalation, but Israel knows that Hamas has for years been building up its rocket arsenals inside the Gaza Strip, building up its fortifications and its cross-border tunnels and its smuggling networks, and of course would like to have an opportunity to be able to destroy that terrorist infrastructure so it can't be used to threaten Israeli citizens as it has overnight. I'll remind you, about 200 rockets, over 200 rockets were fired from the Gaza Strip into Israel overnight. And at the moment, we have Hamas deciding that it wants to escalate the situation by firing rockets deep into Israel. And the Israeli army is now going to have to decide, is it going to try to get the situation under wraps as quickly as possible, or use this opportunity to try to destroy the terrorist infrastructure or parts of the terrorist infrastructure that Hamas has built up in the Gaza Strip to deny it the ability to target Israeli civilians at will.
We saw what happened yesterday, the violence at the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Have there been any fresh clashes today?
Not that I've seen. The last we saw last night was a tree outside the Al-Aqsa Mosque caught fire as Palestinian rioters on the Temple Mount tried to fire fireworks, apparently towards the Western Wall, causing a tree to catch fire. Really, it's a miracle that didn't cause any further damage, and that situation was contained. The fire was extinguished. But as you say, the violence from Hamas in the Gaza Strip comes on the tail of a week of riots on the Temple Mount from Palestinians. We saw images of rocks being stored inside Al-Aqsa Mosque to be used to throw at Israeli security forces, threats against Jewish presence in the Old City on Jerusalem Day. And as far as both Israel and Hamas are concerned, they're linking this latest escalation to the situation in Jerusalem. The code name that Israel is giving for this operation is Guardian of the Ramparts, as in the ramparts around the walls around Jerusalem, defending the capital city from Hamas.
All right, there's
Hamas
also
is calling
another
their
situation
operation
here.
Sword of
There have been
Jerusalem.
anti-Israel protests across West Asia. How have Israel's allies responded to the Jerusalem crisis? So far, the calls for peace haven't had any impact.
We have seen a number of foreign countries, of course, the United States, chief among them, explaining that the firing of rockets towards Israeli civilian areas is absolutely unacceptable. These are war crimes. And of course, Israel will be expecting its allies to stand with it as it exercises its legitimate right to self-defense against this terrorist threat on its borders.
Elon Levi, live from Tel Aviv, thank you very much.